It's got not a bad track record of treating some acute illnesses, such as infections with antibiotics. But let's look at that. What about the children with otitis media, middle ear infections? Most of you who had children, or any of you who know people with children, they're all reporting these kids have multiple ear infections, 3 and 4 per winter, each one treated with antibiotics. Then another one comes, and another one comes. This is not a cure. Now, sometimes antibiotics do cure, and that's fine. That's great. I have no problem with that. But the idea is that conventional medicine rarely cures a chronic problem. What they're very good at is controlling the symptoms, which we call palliation. Okay? We palliate, meaning you improve, you lessen the symptoms. You have high blood pressure, take this medicine, it'll bring it down. But don't go off the high blood pressure medicine, because if you do, up goes the pressure again. Not a cure. You're depressed, take the antidepressant. Stay on it. If you come off it, your depression's liable to come back. Not a cure. So this is why Dr. Kondrot and I are doing homeopathy. It's because we actually see cures. Now, does everybody get well? No. But then nobody ever gets well with any one thing. But we do have some remarkable results. One other thing. We pay special attention to strange, peculiar symptoms. And one person told me, I'm sure he won't mind if I mention it, that every morning around 11 o'clock he feels low, sleepy. Well, if it occurred once, it wouldn't be very interesting. But it's occurred for years. That's pretty peculiar. Because it wasn't 9 and it's not 12, it's 11. Well, that's in the books. You see? That's what we call a bit strange. We like strange stuff. Someone else told me that when it's a hot day, she carries a glass of ice with her. She likes to have an ice cube in her mouth. You know, I didn't even know that until today. After 30 years of practicing homeopathy, I looked it up and I found it.
What does the ice cube do?
The ice cube, it cools her off a little bit. So the point is, there's one medicine out of 2,000 that has this, and it says, better from ice, held in the mouth. I was like flabbergasted. 30 years later, I find this. And this is, we use these huge books, which are now on computer, and we find these strange symptoms. So it's very exciting to do this, because you see things which defy logic, that defy physiology. I was treating a young girl about 11, 12, 13 the other week. First medicine didn't work. She came back. She has anxiety, terrible anxiety, and it really is paralyzing her. So I said, on the second visit, I said, well, tell me more about this thing. Where do you feel your anxiety? She said, well, I feel it in my chest. What do you feel in your chest? You know what she said? She says, it feels light. Light. Not light from the sun. It feels light, airy. Okay? I looked it up. One medicine. I gave it to her and she's starting to get better. Very, very peculiar. So, that gives you a brief overview of homeopathy. And if you have any questions, let's have them. We'll see what I can...
Why don't you describe sulfur for me?
For you? Well, I can't say that without betraying your confidence.
Okay, go ahead. You can't do it.
Huh?
You just have to tell me in person.
I can tell you in person, sure. Yeah.
What's the difference between the medicine that you make and the little pills that you buy in the store, homeopathic?
They're the same.
What? Okay, you said it's energizing the water. That's what I thought. And those
Okay. When they get done, let's say we prescribe a 30C medicine. It's done 30 times, each time 1 to 100. It's all done in water until the last vial. Then it's done in pure alcohol. Pure alcohol is 87% pure alcohol. That 87% alcohol is dripped onto these little sugar pills. They absorb it, and then we dispense it. But it could be dispensed. A drop of the alcohol could be put in water. It wouldn't matter.
So you said like cures like.
Like cures like.
Now, you said there was a remedy for this person who put the ice cube in her mouth, and you said there was a cure. Now, did the cure say put an ice cube in your mouth?
No. It's just known that in the proving, remember I talked a minute ago about provings, when you give the medicine to healthy people, this symptom came out. That's another thing I should mention before we stop, is that when we test these substances, these medicines, we test them on healthy people. This is quite different from the pharmacological industry. After they've worked up their compound, they give it to animals first. Animals which have a physiology, they hope, as similar as possible to people. Of course, it's never that close. And they make sure it doesn't kill the animals. And once they've got it worked out with the animals, then they will start treating not healthy people, they treat disease. We treat healthy people in order to see what the substance will produce. Okay? Big difference. Also, when you give a drug to animals, you're never going to get any symptoms back because animals don't talk very well. But with people can describe the most subtle sensations. They say, "Doctor, it feels like ants are crawling on my skin." That's pretty subtle. Okay? It feels like a nail is being driven into my head. And on and on. So people can, through language, people can get very close to these sensations. Another question. Yes, sir.
I was reflecting when you talked about the life force, the work that was done at UCLA with Carillion photography.
Yeah.
Which, you know the story where they cut the leaf in half, and within seconds, an image of the leaf regenerated itself, even though the leaf was cut in half, and that regeneration provided some type of life force, even though it had been interrupted, to use your term,
exactly,
by the cutting. There was
holistic.
A tendency to gestalt or
Yeah.
complete
Yeah.
and go back to the way it was supposed to be. And it sounds to me like that's kind of an underlying principle.
It's absolutely correct. And it's very important you bring that up, Chandler, because all living things have the vital force. Plants and all animals and all creatures.
Famous one in Sanskrit, call it prana.
Prana.
That's
In Sanskrit,
the same
exactly.
thing.
We think it's the same thing. The Chinese call it chi. It goes on and on. There's different names for this subtle energy that seems to flow. The yogis in India called it, said that it flowed in nadis. The word is a Sanskrit word nadi, which means a subtle channel. So from different traditions, you get the same idea. Whether it's, I assume it's the same. I don't know, but it's pretty similar. Yeah.
When you...
Well, the proving is done, and you follow people for 1 or 2 months daily. They keep a log of all the symptoms, and then there's a person in charge of the proving, and he interviews the person from time to time, and he says, "Well, tell me more about this symptoms. When did you feel it? Blah blah blah." And they compile all this data. What they end up with usually are hundreds, if not thousands, of symptoms. Even though the group only had 20 people in it, each person reports symptoms every day. These are all annotated into like a booklet, and it's a booklet of all the symptoms. Then that gets put into the literature, and anybody can use it anytime from then on.